In the heart of the Bantu region, nestled between rolling green hills and lush forests, lay the village of Makhaya. This village was a serene place where the men were strong and worked the land, and the women were skilled in weaving and pottery. The huts in Makhaya were crafted from mud and thatch, creating a picturesque scene with round roofs and open-air courtyards. Among the villagers lived a beautiful young woman named Kazi. Her skin glistened like the river at dawn, her eyes sparkled the light of the evening stars, and her smile could warm even the coldest heart. Yet, despite her beauty, none of the young men in the village wanted to marry her. They whispered among themselves that Kazi was too quiet, too shy, or perhaps too dreamy for their liking. Even though she was kind-hearted and helped everyone, she was overlooked by all. Kazi did not let this rejection deter her from finding happiness in the simple things. She spent her days in the forest, gathering herbs and singing to the birds, dreaming of a life where someone would see her for who she truly was. One day, a stranger arrived in the village. He was dressed in simple clothes, with a worn leather satchel slung across his shoulder. His name was Juma, and he was from the neighboring village. He had heard stories of Makhaya's beautiful landscapes and came to see them for himself. Juma was a charming man, but he did not reveal that he was actually a wealthy trader. Instead, he acted like a commoner, helping the villagers with their tasks and sharing stories by the fire at night. He noticed Kazi from afar and was struck by her beauty and grace. Her voice, even from a distance, was melodious, and her gentle spirit captivated him. Juma encounters Kazi in the forest. She is collecting herbs, and they share a brief conversation. Juma is intrigued by her gentle nature and beauty. As the days passed, Juma spent more time with Kazi. He helped her gather herbs and listened to her songs. The villagers noticed their friendship but dismissed it as Juma simply being kind. They didn't realize that Juma was falling in love with Kazi, and she, too, was beginning to feel a connection with him. One evening, as the village gathered for a feast, Juma decided it was time to reveal his true identity. He stood before the villagers and announced that he was a wealthy trader from another village and that he wished to marry Kazi. The villagers were stunned, and the young men who had previously ignored Kazi felt a pang of jealousy. The villagers react to Juma's announcement with shock and whispers. The young men who had ignored Kazi look on with envy, realizing they had missed their chance. Juma approached Kazi and asked for her hand in marriage. Kazi, who had always felt invisible among her own people, was overwhelmed with joy. She accepted his proposal, and the villagers erupted in cheers. The village elder, who presided over such matters, gave them his blessing, and plans for their wedding began immediately. As the wedding day approached, the villagers decorated the entire village with flowers and colorful fabrics. The atmosphere was filled with joy, and everyone came together to celebrate the union of Kazi and Juma. The once rejected girl was now the center of attention, and her happiness was contagious. The wedding ceremony takes place in the village square. Kazi and Juma are dressed in traditional attire, with garlands of flowers around their necks. The village elder officiates the ceremony, and the villagers cheer and dance around them. Kazi and Juma's wedding was a grand celebration that lasted for days. The village that once rejected Kazi now celebrated her with open arms, and everyone marveled at the love she shared with Juma. The young men who had ignored her learned a valuable lesson about judging others based on appearances, while Kazi found happiness with someone who saw her for the kind and beautiful person she was. The wedding feast takes place, with long tables filled with food and villagers dancing and playing music. Kazi and Juma sit at the head of the table, enjoying the celebration. Kazi and Juma stand at the edge of the village, looking out over the lush landscape. They hold hands, symbolizing the beginning of their journey together. The sun sets in the background, casting a warm glow over the scene. And so, Kazi and Juma lived happily ever after, proving that true love sees beyond appearances and that happiness finds those who stay true to themselves.